All right. So everyone, I'm going to talk about as a new character, new player, you get to build your warband. You get to pick between 3 tier 2 units and a single tier 3 unit. And I'm going to go over each of these units that are available as an option for you to pick. And on top of that, I'm going to cover some light information about each unit and some different ideas you may have as to why you would pick certain warbands. So right away, we get to pick between 3 tier 2 units. The options that they give you to pick between are the Dempsey Spearmen, you've got the Ironcap Swordsmen, the Dempsey Archers, the Ironcap Arquebusiers, and then the Pike Militia. So for this loadout, a lot of it's going to come down to the type of class or how you want to play the game. So you actually have 2 options for what we consider shock troops. Those are your Ironcap Swordsmen or your Rattan Round Shields. These are typically units that have a charge associated to them, and they're supposed to go in, do some sort of like block break, and be an assault class to attack with. So between these 2 units, there's going to be a couple differentiating factors. So the Rattan Round Shields have a leadership of about 130, and they do have the Shield Rush charge, and they have some pretty standard formations that through veterancy you can improve. The Ironcap Swordsmen have those same things, so you're going to have the charge available for them, as well as the leadership being 115, so actually a bit lower. And the big thing with them, though, is that through the veterancy, you actually have the ability to have their charge stun the opponent. And that's going to be a huge benefit to running the Ironcap Swordsman over top of the Rattan Round Shields. And one of the reasons that I would typically pick them as my shock troop of choice between all these starting builds. There is a shock troop available in the tier 3 that you can pick between as well. So that's something to keep in mind. So the Dempsey Spearmen are straight up just kind of your tank class within here. So they have the shields and spears to use. So they're going to be able to defend a lot with lots of formation options available to them. And they are going to be able to deal with pretty decent amount of damage, especially leveled up. But one of the big things with them is that they don't have any unique abilities. They don't have any stuns, dazes, anything like that. They're a very straightforward, tanky class between all these options. You do have your Dempsey Archers. These guys have I believe the attack area and a leadership of about 120. You're gonna have the basic archers right off the bat that you get, just the tier 1 simple ones. I really wouldn't pick these archers too much unless you're gonna be like a bow user and you really don't want to be close quarters, mainly because you do have the Iron-capped archers available at the same tier that you can get very cheaply out of the tree. And not only do they get the attack area, but they also have, through veterancy, arrow rain, and their leadership is only 135 versus the 120. So really, unless you're going to be spamming archers a lot, like be a bow user and sit back, I would almost save this and just go ahead and get your Iron-Cap Archers, which also lead up to some really nice archer units later. I believe they lead up to the Imperial Archers. Now your Iron-Cap Arquebusiers, these are your musket option that is available. This is really good for people who want to play either fairly up close or middle range, like short bow. If you want to play musket and that's interests you for a weapon, the Ironcap Arquebusiers are actually a really good tier 2 unit to choose between. They are a leadership of about 145, so they are the highest out of all of these. But the big problems with them is that they're low accuracy and they're also a low rate of fire. That's one of the reasons that they're a tier 2 and not like a really high-end unit. You can make up for a lot of this through the veterancy. If you go with the top tree, you get 15% increase to your accuracy right away, but through the top tree you can get 30% more, so a total of 45 increase to your accuracy. And your rate of fire can be increased through the top line by 30%, so you can make up for their lack of accuracy and rate of fire a decent amount. And once you level these up, they're actually a very formidable unit, even towards some late game. If you're doing some higher level sieges and stuff, you can still get away with them pretty well. Pike Militia is pretty much hands down a must-have option because they are so good even in late game. Pike Militia have a bunch of different formations available through their veterancy. On top of that, they can at max level get a stun on their brace, which makes them really good utility for their cost, because you have that ability to stun incoming charges or advances, especially from cavalry, which they're an anti-cav unit, and that makes them very good even at higher level, because you have that ability to team up with another like high damage dealer or defensive unit and still get a really good trade for their cost. So Pike Militia, almost no matter what, is an excellent choice to go with your warband. If you're going to be a solo player, I really think going with stuff like your Pike Militia and one of your shock troops, Ironcap Swordsman's a great pick for the 2. If you want to play a little bit more far range or mid range, pairing that up with like your archers or cuirassiers is not a bad option. If you're going to go team play, Dempsey Spearman is actually a really great choice, because you can pair up with someone who is using a damage dealer and become a good defensive unit for them. It's also not a bad choice if you want to play a very close-up melee unit and have a unit to kind of work with you, help defend you when you want to sit back and heal a little bit, or to kind of hold a front line for you to fight on. So it's not a bad pick either. So I would definitely look at using Pike Militia, something like Ironcap Swordsman, and then you can kind of pick up between Arquebusiers if you want to play more middle-ranged weapons, or like Spearmen if you want to be close-up quarters. If your option for a tier 3 pick does include a fairly defensive shield unit, so you might want to skip on the Spearmen and then just pick that. It has a very good shock unit, but I still almost would pick your Ironcap Swordsman anyway. And then it does also have a anti-cav unit through the Halberdiers. But I would still pick up Pike Militia, because for the cost, they're an excellent unit. So I'm actually going to go Pike Militia, Ironcap Swordsman, and I'm actually going to trade stuff up a bit and start right away with Arquebusiers. So getting into the tier 3, as I mentioned, you've got a shield unit, shock troop, and an anti-cav through Halberdiers. Your Ironcap Spearman is an excellent defensive unit, has a very big shield that makes them very good at blocking ranged attacks, archers, muskets, that type of thing. The one downside to Ironcap Spearmen is they do not have a line formation, so they're not the best in large group play, because you cannot cover a large amount of span through a line formation and then build up lines. But on top of that, they can do smaller party type movement using their turtle formations and children formations, and they are very good for solo play, because you can hold a very strong front line and keep them paired up with a bunch of melee units and melee players. You do have the Squires. These are a fairly adequate shock troop. Squires do get a shield rush, that charge like we're talking about. The leadership on them is 170, the other 2 are 175, so it's very formidable and your expense to have them in your warband. The big downside to the Squires is mainly that they don't have much else use-wise behind being a fairly effective charge unit. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It means that if you want to specialize a little bit more with your unit pick, then the other 2 offer a little bit more variety through either the team play and defensive play, or through the anti-cav. So your Halberdiers do act as an anti-cavalry unit. They do have that stat bonus against cavalry hits. They do also have the stand firm brace formation, which is really nice, and they actually do have a charge as well. And that charge does do a significant amount of damage when you level them up, so it's a really nice damage dealing unit. The downside to Halberdiers as like a shock troop is that they don't have any close-knit formations. So as you can see in the little video, they're very widespread with how they form up. So that means that it can be really difficult running them through tight areas or trying to hit a tight enemy formation, because they're spread out so much. That's nice for spread out damage hit, but that's not as good when you want a focused, concentrated hit. But they are a very good anti-cav for the cost as well for an option. So I'd say if your player is going to be playing a lot of ranged units, so you're something like a bow, musket, that type of thing, it's definitely not a bad idea to go with Halberdiers, because you can use them also as a background defense for your back formation with all the archer units and all that. If you're tied up melee unit, I would say either Squires to build up on another shock troop choice, or Iron Cap Spearman's really good if you're going to be in a party or team play situation with other people and you can pair up with each other. The nice thing with Iron Cap Spearman is that it does give you that unit unlock that later can lead to Imperial Pike Guards, which are an amazing defensive unit. Your Squires do give you an unlock to lead to Men-at-Arms, which is a also great shock troop or defensive unit to pair up as shield. The one thing though is that with Men-at-Arms you can get the free tier 1 unlock if you jump back to season 5 and do the unit challenge. Doing the first tier of that will give you the Men-at-Arms unlock for free, and the Halberdiers you can from the current season get them freely unlocked through the first challenge tier of the Lanzknechts. So that means that you potentially can get the 2 units, this unit for free through that efforts of the challenges, and the Squires, the one that they lead to, you could potentially get for free if you're willing to go back to season 5. Whereas Iron Cap Spearman, none of that tree is a free unlock. You're going to have to do it through the honor. So if you're one of those people who want to optimize your expenses through your honor, that's something to consider as well. So with the setup that I did, since I went ahead and didn't take my defensive unit from the tier 2s, I'm going to then choose a defensive unit in tier 3 with the Spearman. So I hope that helps you kind of break down which of the unit choices you might want to go with between your tier 2 options and your tier 3. A lot of it is going to be your play style and the way, what weapon you choose and how you want to kind of play it out. But that hopefully gives you a direction to go with as you start to consider it. Oh, you're gonna make it up that wall. You're gonna make it up the wall.